What's up, guys? We're back with another Dragon Ball SH Figuarts review, taking a look at the third entry in the GINYU Force. So we have got another P Bandai exclusive release with the GINYU Force's RECOOME. So this is probably, I don't know, one of the figures that I have been looking forward to the most, just because I am dying to finish this team. After RECOOME, we've got one more release to go, and we'll get Goldo and Birder all in one go, and then we will finally have our full team. But this guy's one I've really been looking forward to, just because it's yet another armored figure, and of course, he's huge, and I really like the big, bulky SH Figuarts stuff. So we've got him here in our standard Dragon Ball Z style package. You got the figure there in the window. You've got a big product shot in the bottom corner that runs along the spine of the box, and then the back of the package, in similar fashion to every other release, you've got a handful of product shots showcasing how he moves, all the goofy poses you can get him into, and then a bunch of the accessories he comes with as well. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our RECOOME figure, the third entry in the GINYU Force. And like I said, this guy is one that I have just been dying to get a hold of. Not just because I want to finish the GINYU Force, and because I really, really love the Namek saga just in general, and all the characters and all the, just everything that really came out of it, but because I really like Tamashii Nation's bigger figures, like, you know, King Piccolo, the recent Piccolo, things like that, Captain Ginyu. The larger figures, just for some reason, sort of do it for me. Not to mention the fact that this is yet another character in, well, Saiyan style armor, which I'm always down for. So let's get started, see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. He is pretty mobile, honestly. I mean, for a large figure like this, he does move really well. So we've got a head that can, of course, look all the way up. He does have the independently articulated neck, so you do have to watch that, because obviously there's some sort of nasty gappage going on there. So you've got that to contend with. You can go like all the way down, though. I mean, the range is really good here. You've got tilt like for days. That's fantastic. Really good tilt. And then, of course, you've got full rotation at the head itself. These shoulder pads are articulated, so they will go up, you know, to his head, basically, if you want to do something ridiculous like that. The arms will go out at the shoulder all the way. They will, of course, rotate, and this is what the pads need to go out for. Of course, it's not the cleanest looking cut. This isn't a situation like Jace where you get an extra shoulder pad because he, you know, ideally needs to be in a pose like that. But it moves well enough for me. And then they go all the way back. You do have a butterfly joint. And let's just, you know, take a look at the engineering there so you can see the entire shoulder coming out of the torso. We do also have the movable flaps down here, which you're probably going to knock out like I just did. So he's got really good range at the arms. There is a really nicely hidden bicep swivel. It almost doesn't look like it's there, but it is. You've got your double jointed elbows. They go, I mean, all the way up. So really good range there. And then we've also got our wrist articulation. These are straight up ball pegs, so they are not ball hinges, which I'm very happy for. So in and out, up and down, all the way around, and of course you can swivel them. Works really well, good range, because it's a big ball that's inside of a really large cavity, so it just allows for a great range of motion. The torso on this guy is probably the one area that you might say is kind of restricted, and it's just because he's so big. So he goes backwards about that far. He goes forwards, you're gonna hear some squeaking. He goes forwards about that far, and that's about as far as I'm willing to take him, because there has been some noted issues with this figure, specifically at the torso, because there's paint on the stomach area. So you're going to potentially see some chipping if you take him too hard or just too fast and you sort of rub those pieces together. You might see some chipping. So watch out. You've got a little bit of tilt, and I'm going to knock the shoulder pad off doing that, like I said. A little bit of tilt, and then you can rotate. It's not full rotation, but you can rotate. There is also waist rotation down here as well. You'll want to basically swivel the legs, not really swivel the stomach area. Swivel the legs instead. So let's pop that back on. Legs go out about this far. Far enough for RECOOME, I'd say, because it's not necessary for him to have the most range. This is what you want. You want that crazy kickback, because of course that's one of his poses. So all the way back, and then all the way forward. You do have to contend with the flaps, with the armor panels. things like that, but they do move up out of the way, and they are pegged in there, so you can take them out if you want and then put them back in to reseat things. You've got your thigh twist there. We've got double jointed knees, but he really only goes back about that far, so it's just barely better than 90 degrees. And then we've got our ankles, so you've got rotation, but you've actually got really, really good rocker for a change, because again, it's ball hinges down here. So tilt forward and backward on this guy is really good, and then you can go all the way around, and a really nice rocker for this style of foot. Usually they suffer at the rocker, and then you've got your toe articulation. So he does move pretty well. Like I'm having no real issues posing him around. The only thing that you might really want to take into consideration is watching that stomach area. Just pay attention, make sure you're not slamming that torso into the stomach. Otherwise, you're going to have really no issue getting this guy into some, I mean, honestly, very wacky poses if you want to go by the back of the box. Now, aesthetically speaking, this guy is basically everything I wanted, honestly. He's big, he's bulky, and the sculpt and, I mean, likeness, if you want to call it that, I think are pretty spot on. There's really nothing here that I don't like when it comes to the overall design, except for kind of the aforementioned paint situation on the torso. I just think that's a QC problem waiting to happen, but if you're patient and aware of it, it's probably not going to be an issue. You just, you know, maybe have to know. I would have definitely not been happy if I had messed it up to find that out. Unfortunately, other folks did have issues scratching that paint or chipping it away, and that's how I'm aware of it now. But otherwise, this is RECOOME. I mean, point blank, it looks just like him. I love everything about this figure. I love the very matte finish that's coupled with a little bit of a gloss on this guy. He's not super matte overall. He's also not super glossy. The browns, the skin tone, the trunks on him look really good. The sleeves underneath the shirt, underneath the armor rather, look really good. And the paint on the torso matches the flesh tones as far as molded plastic goes well enough. It's not ever 100% spot on, but it's pretty damn close here. And again, he's massive. He is easily one of the biggest figures in the line as far as, you know, standard figures goes, and I'm really happy with him. There's not too much more to say. It's a big, bulky guy in a really well done Saiyan armor. Again, it moves nicely with the figure, but also looks fantastic. The GINYU logo is tampoed on the chest really well. There is, of course, a design thing with this figure that I'm not the happiest with, and it's something that varies between figures, and that's the scouter aspect of him, because I would always like to be able to not have to use the scouter in some instances, whether a character's shown never, you know, having it off or not. In any instance like that, I'd love to be able to just take it off and put an ear on, you know, like we got with Bardock, that kind of thing. But the head sculpt here, despite that one little gripe of mine, does look really good. This is, of course, just a figure where you're always going to be using the scouter on this guy. Otherwise, he's got this weird sort of L-shaped hole in the other heads that you're using. But I do think the likeness here looks really good. You know, likeness to a cartoon, obviously. That goofy smirk on the face is really well done. I mean, he looks like he thinks he's the strongest guy in the room, which we know is not the case. And the scouter looks really good, the nice transparent green plastic. And then that crazy shock of red hair is really nice. It is a separate piece because you're going to move that between head sculpts, but I think it blends in really nicely to the figure. And of course, it's really goofy looking because that's just the gimmick for this particular team, is that there's always something goofy about each one of them, and that's very much part of his shtick. So it's a big, monstrous figure in Saiyan armor. It's very much a Nappa kind of figure for me. I loved Nappa. This guy is more of that kind of style. Big, bulky figure, great sculpt, great paint applications for the most part, except for, you know, the potential for problems at the torso area. But he's a really solid looking figure, and again, a lot of it comes down to the size, but it's just the overall aesthetics. They absolutely nailed the way this figure and the entire team so far looks. Of course, we have to do a size comparison since I said 85 times that he is big and beefy and bulky. And of course, the best figures to use as a size comparison are our other GINYU members. Now, we obviously don't have Birder and Goldo yet, but as far as the two we do have, we've got Captain GINYU here on the left, his right, and then Jace on the right, his left. And you can see that, I mean, he absolutely towers over both of them, Jace specifically, but even Captain GINYU. And GINYU is a rather large figure to begin with in his own right. He is definitely larger than your average Dragon Ball Z Figuarts, but RECOOME is definitely a different type of situation. He is very much a larger style figure, and there's just a lot of plastic here. He's tall, but he's also really, really beefy as well, so he's going to scale really nicely with these other figures. He maybe doesn't look as huge as he sort of seems in the show, but I think that this definitely will work really nicely on your shelf. Now, when it comes to accessories, RECOOME is pretty stacked. He is, of course, missing the one thing I always want to get. I always want an effect part. He does not have that. But for the most part, he is pretty full up here. I don't think we're missing too much. Now, we've got our normal stuff. So we've got hands to start with. You've got fists on him in the box, and then you've got 8 additional hands, 4 sets. So we've got a set of splayed finger hands, so open palm splayed finger. You've got a set of slightly open gripping hands, you know, for a Dragon Ball, for instance. You've got a set of chopping hands, or posing hands, with the joint on the back of the hands. So you've got that cavity for the peg to go in on the back. And then you've got an additional set of flat hands with the joint on the top of the hands. So if you want to have the hands sort of outwards like this, you know, splayed outwards, you've got the ability to do that. Of course, we do have extra heads, and like I mentioned, these are all heads that are going to utilize the Scouter. So you have to use the Scouter on all of them unless you pose him well enough, I suppose, to hide the gaping hole on the side of his head. You also will take the hair off and put it on the other heads. To start with, you've got a head with him screaming, looking forward. And these heads all kind of suffer from that weird Figuarts syndrome that happens from time to time, where they basically just change the direction of the eyes and kind of call it a day. So you've got the grinning head on him in the box, you've got a screaming head looking forward, then you've got a screaming head with him looking to his left, your right, and then you've got another one with him looking to his right, your left. And I kind of feel like it falls short a bit there because, frankly, I feel like there's other expressions, maybe just a stoic expression, or even one where he is kind of dumbfounded, because he definitely has that look, where he sort of doesn't realize what's going on, or those instances where he realizes he is kind of outclassed. He does have a few other things also. So we've got his Namek Dragon Ball. So he comes with the 3-star ball. And of course, it's a larger style ball because it's the Namek Dragon Balls. And then we've got the GINYU frog, for when Captain GINYU gets turned into the frog, or when he changes into the frog. And this thing, I mean, it's like a little slug figure, but it looks really good. Nice sculpt, good paint applications. I mean, it definitely works for whatever you need this for. It's going to fill that need quite well. And then we also get something for Captain GINYU. So we get the actual kind of stupefied frog face for GINYU. And it's an entirely different head sculpt, of course, just based on the GINYU figure. So you get an entirely new head sculpt with him sort of with his eyes bugged out, kind of spaced out, because the frog is now in his body at this point. And of course, it has no idea what it's doing because it's a frog. So if you wanted to throw GINYU on your shelf, or get a second one even, if you're that dedicated to put him in that kind of goofy frog pose that he does, once this has all taken place, spoiler alert, I guess, you've got the head sculpt for it now. I do really love when they do this kind of stuff. This isn't the thing that I typically use. I'm going to take a picture with it and do something with it, but it'll probably be in its box. But for the people that really like this kind of stuff, I'm happy that they include it. So it is a nice little bonus that you can now throw in with your Captain GINYU. So like I said, he is pretty stacked. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. The one thing that I truly wish he had was any kind of effect part, because frankly, I just like getting them. And then, I kind of wish we did have something a little bit different when it comes to these head sculpts, but otherwise, there is still a lot of options packed in with this big guy. So yeah, this is another absolute winner for me, and it's honestly for a lot of reasons. It's because of what character it is. I really like the GINYU Force. It's one of my favorite aspects of the Namek saga in particular, so I've wanted these guys for a long time. They're also absolutely nailing them when it comes to size, sculpt, again, likeness, if you want to call it that. And RECOOME here comes with a pretty solid, if not imperfect, set of accessories, but he does have a lot of stuff. I do like the bonus inclusions for Captain GINYU, and he's just a nice looking figure, and he also moves exceptionally well for such a big figure. You can get him into a lot of those goofy poses that he's known for, and that's something that I'm really happy to see them focusing on with this set, because we all wanted to do that, and we easily can. So that's going to do it for this look at the SH Figuarts RECOOME. Let me know what you guys think Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.